Your pants are too long, you've got to shorten them, but you can't see any kind of stitching. It's called an invisible blind stitch, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Today I'm going to teach you how to sew an invisible blind stitch. You can't see it, alright? It's not something that's on the outside. And guess what? You don't even need your sewing machine to do this one. I'm going to show you two ways to do a blind stitch. One with my blind stitch machine and one by hand. But honestly, you don't even need a sewing machine. You just need an iron, a needle, and a thread. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn Emily's pants inside out. So I would like to point out that I'm doing these two pants to the same length because they're the same make, same size, same manufacturer. If you have two pair of pants that are different manufacturers and different fabrics, fit them both and don't do them just by the inseam. The original manufacturer put on 1.5 inches of hem, and luckily for us, we have 1.5 inches up from the old hem, so I'm just going to cut that right off. If you have a serger, we can serge this. I've got my Baby Lock serger ready to go with light brown thread. We're just going to cut and bind that raw edge so I don't have to cut it with scissors. My Baby Lock will do that for me. And I want to cut off about 1.5 inches, which I measured before. It's just above here. I'm going to try not to cut off any additional fabric when I go through. I like to cut and start like this. I don't know why I do. I like it. I like to do that just to get it under. Starting in the right place. Are hanging a little bit off. It's okay, it's not going to hurt anything. If someone were to see this, I'd try to fix it, but no one will see it. Okay, here's my blind stitch Helen. She has a whole bunch of sunshine on her and harsh shadows, so I hope you can see. If you use a blind stitch, you know the thread is just as thin as hair. It's really thin. I'm going to thread my blind stitch. And since you're here listening, and I want to tell you about my blind stitch, it only uses one thread and a curved needle. And it literally hems like the one layer of the pant, so you can't see it from the other side. It's a wonderful machine. And as you can tell from its color, it is from the 60s or 70s, I don't even know, but it's a fantastic machine. See that? That is hem stitched. And the other side, you can't even tell. You can't even see. So up this blind stitch, it will, if you pull one string, it'll just all come out. So I make sure and pull up the loop that it leaves so that it won't do that. And then I'll tie those strings together in a minute after I get the other one done. Looks really good. I'm just finishing this loose thread. You know, if I pull it, it's not gonna come out, but I am just gonna put it through a needle, tie a knot. It's not coming out. I don't know if you can see this, but there's my blind hem stitch right there. There's the serging right here. My blind hem stitch is right there. It's literally as thin as hair. This one, I don't have to use my needle because I have the 2 threads. I'm just gonna tie a knot. Make sure I'm doing everything I can so that they don't come out. And this pair's done. Okay, before I'm done with these pants, I just noticed that they have a little pleat down the front of the pant, and usually when I iron my pants, I iron that out. So I'm going to put it back in. I'm just going to lay this flat. These pants we're going to hem without a sewing machine. First thing we need to do is to cut off this old hem. Now, one thing you do not want to have is a raw edge and the threads coming out in the wash and the fraying. That's all very ugly. So one way to avoid that is to cut it with pinking shears. You can use a zigzag on your machine, but I was going to show you how to do this without a sewing machine. So I'm going to cut these with pinking shears. That zigzag will minimize the fraying and maybe tiny little threads will come out, but it won't look really, really super ugly. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to need some matching thread. Do you have to have matching thread? Pretty much. I would like to tell you no, but pretty much. Especially for a blind hem, you don't want anyone to see that you have hemmed this. So we're going to use matching thread so it will not show up from the other side. All right? Alright, we've got our needle and thread. We're going to start sewing underneath the seam allowance on the side. You see there? I'm going to put my needle under here, come out, so my knot will be on the inside of that seam allowance. Tricky, I know. It's tricky. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a loops. I don't know what you call this. This is a stitch where I'm trying to get as little fabric as I can. And I hope you can see this. I hope you can get maybe a little closer. But we're going to, I don't know, I'm taking a stitch maybe every, a little bit, maybe every 3/8 of an inch. Taking as little fabric as I can, and so that you don't see it on the other side. Let's turn it over and see. See, you see nothing. Looks beautiful. There are many people in this world who love hand stitching. I cannot be counted among them. I just so much faster with the machine. So I'm going to go around this whole hem. I'm going to go around this whole hem, and then you're done. Unless we want to press. So what do you do if you don't have a matching thread? Well, get as close as you can, alright? And I would do a bunch of stitching on the seams, you know, get it tacked up really well there. And then what I might do if I didn't have matching thread is I would do a stitch every inch or so instead of every half an inch, so it would be less likely to be seen. And I would also just get the inside threads of your pant. Like, just try to get the inside threads of your pant and not go all the way through the fabric. Alright, that is also something else you can do if you don't have a matching thread. Once I get to this seam though, I'm gonna go all the way through that seam allowance and just on top of each other put 3 or 4 big, nice, fat stitches in. Won't get taken out. And then start on the other side and just keep going. I even had somebody call me, a guy who was graduating college, and yes, it was WVU. That's where I live in West Virginia. He wanted to know if I could hem his pants that day. I said, no, can't do that, but I can tell you what to do. I told him to go to his iron, and, because he had one, thank goodness, iron the right length in so it looks good, then staple. I know, terrible, terrible. But I told him to staple the seams. Staple underneath the seam to the pant, so nobody will see that there are staples in your pants, okay? But you'll be able to graduate, and your mom will be impressed because your pants look good, and everything will be, life will be good. And then I said, then bring him to me, and I'll fix them for you. But he never did. I mean, you know, it's alright. It's okay. Okay, tied a knot. Putting my tail underneath, clipping that off, and I call that good. Thank you for watching my video on how to sew a blind stitch. Remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.